They're underway.
All right, ready? Go.
It was a pilot for Beer Canada.
Okay. Okay. Call to order. I think Matt's going to be ready to get going here on her. You're done? Okay, we're running. We look good on television. Okay. Call to order. Disclosure any peculiar interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
February 29th.
Seeing none? We're not going into closed. Open motion to convene open session. No minutes of previous meeting.
There you go.
Thank you. Moved by Councilor Turton, second by Deputy Mayor Faulkner. Welcome back.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
That the minutes of February 16, 2016 council meeting be approved. All in favor? Okay, good. Passed. Other additional items disclosed. You can't even talk about the IPM because you haven't been here. You don't have anything about it. We know more than you. David? Sorry. We were actually, Ron, doing it for you when you were gone. We took turns talking about the IPM.
Isn't that wonderful? I appreciate that. Do you? I'm not sure. I haven't heard what you said.
I was going to say, you've got a whole new agenda now.
Okay, do I have to hit the gavel again? There's getting rowdy here. All right. Moved by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Caldwell. The Town of Minto Council convenes in a committee of the whole. All in favor? Very good. Okay. No public meeting. And the delegation, our friends from Toronto couldn't make it up in the bad weather. They're not here. And we're down to public question period. No question. I think I answered Brian's question already.
What was it? Thanks for coming.
All the way from downtown through?
Okay. Correspondence received for information requiring direction of council.
I have something to bring forward. The Ontario Small Urban Municipalities. Speak to it now.
I think we could do it right now.
Okay. As you know, I'm director of the Ontario Small Urban Municipalities, OSM it's called, and every 2 years they ask for nominations to go on that board again. So I need support of our council, so I need a moving seconder to allow me to go forward.
Mayor Bridge, I nominate Ron Elliott for representation on the board at OSM.
Seconder, Dave?
Mayor Bridge, I nominate Councilor Elliott seconder.
Second.
I have a few questions, though.
Sure.
Okay, so do you want to do the questions now before we vote? Sure. Okay. Would you like to?
Councilor Elliott, I just wonder, you're a director. Why haven't you moved up? You've been on this board for how many years?
Yeah. As a matter of fact,
That'd be interesting. That's why I wanted to know.
I didn't think that was
there is an election this year to move up to president and also our chairman and vice chairman. And as much as I would enjoy that, I felt that would be too much of a priority as our council. So I think it would take me away. I would probably be away if I became chairman or vice chairman, and I have to attend all the AMO meetings and such like. So it would take too much away from my town, I think, at this time. If I was less involved, maybe I would. Being a director, I get all the information coming back at me.
And I guess I just want to point out, Ron, that we appreciate your stepping up to the plate. A lot of these associations, people don't realize, but you get a lot of opportunity to make policy or help with policy making, and it's very important that we have people on those. So I know it costs us a little extra, but at the end of the day, we do have a direct link into the organization, and it's really, really rural lens type situation. So that's very important that we get the rural lens there, especially with AMO. AMO can be sort of city oriented sometimes. So by having that awesome at the AMO level in Roma, it really helps out. So
past president this year for AMO was also president of OSM at one time, and I believe our OSM chairman now is hoping to move up to the AMO championship. So there's a direct link in there for sure, and we have we continually have straight line into AMO. So it's and quite often with provincial leaders and such like we've had them at our different meetings. Definitely at our conferences.
Mayor Bridge, OSIM relies on municipalities to allow people like yourself to be on the board, and that's what it's built on. So, good luck.
Thank you so much.
Good luck.
All in favor? Carried. There you can. All right. Any other correspondence? Other questions? Yes.
A note. I'm sort of interested in this. And I don't know if the question belongs here, but perhaps you can start here why it doesn't include the emergency room nurses.
Actually, there's a report. Chris is going to talk on it. I don't know if he can cover that question, Gene, or not, or we might have to get.
Especially in our small hospitals.
Yeah.
People do not always come in by ambulance. They get driven up by their loved ones, by their family members. They come in giving birth in the backseat of cars. They come in with motor vehicle accidents. They come in having a cardiac arrest. And in our little tiny hospitals, where there's only 3 nurses in the building, there's no physician there, they certainly would fall under that, and we watch people that we don't manage to save because we can't get a doctor there in time. I think they need to be. So I don't know where we take it because I realize it's provincial, but I think it needs to go forward. And once again, they're forgetting that little rural hospitals are not big things. We work under a whole different kettle of fish. And not to take anything away from our emergency response teams. Without these fellows, we wouldn't be able to do our job half the time. What they don't get them to us in good shape, it doesn't matter what we do. But we work collaboratively, and frequently we're on the ground with the mess and the gore and the blood. And I think they need to recognize the job that our nurses do in our emergency department.
So just, I couldn't agree more with you, Councillor Anderson. Perhaps that legislation, I haven't had a chance to go through that, Chief, but does that include the police in that legislation? Oh, it does. So it doesn't include just fire, any emergency response person.
It includes dispatch. It doesn't address the nurse.
But that's certainly that's certainly a question that should be brought forward to our member of parliament.
Is that where I'm going?
I would, in a heartbeat.
I would that, and also
In a
maybe
heartbeat.
copy the LIN or whatever, because that would be under their jurisdiction.
And if you would like a letter from the municipality suggesting they do so, I'd be more than pleased to move that.
Well,
I don't know whether council feels that a letter is appropriate, but
I think early days.
I guess if you wish to include that as part of the resolution approving the correspondence, and that we advise AMO and that we feel the legislation should include
Emergency.
Because now's the time to do it.
we would copy that on to AMO, and they're the one who send the correspondence.
I don't know how the rest of council feels, but I certainly feel strongly about it. Our nurses provide a very unique service to our communities, and without them in those departments, and on the night shift at our particular little hospitals, it is only nurses in the building. That's all that's there. And when we used to have ambulance in the back, we used to be able to count on them, and the doctors will respond when people come in by ambulance. No, they do not all, because I've been there, taking them out of the back seat of their cars or picking them up in the parking lot.
Okay, well, we can look into adding that. Awesome.
Okay, I would appreciate that.
Okay. Can move in a second on the correspondence. Deputy Mayor Faulkner, Councilor Anderson, all in favor? Carried.
So Mayor Bridge, if I may, I'll include a note to AMO that we received their correspondence and we ask that be included.
Well, it may be already in the works somewhere, but we don't know.
Well, and I intend to pursue it with our own Castle Stroud with the RNAO. I'm surprised that it's been overlooked this far, that it's gone that far, but I intend to pursue it, so I thought I would bring it here as well.
Yeah.
We have the correspondence.
Okay. Sports committees, Parks and Rec. Matt.
Have a good pen.
Well, thank you, Mayor Bridge. The minutes before you are from our meeting in January, so a little over a month ago. We met up in Clifford. The nice thing about that meeting was that we met with the Clifford Rec Association afterwards. Bit of a joint meeting, sat in on their usual gathering, and just found out about all the good things they're up to in Clifford with respect to helping book ice, helping with the user groups up there with sort of their grant initiatives and the running of the concession booth. So it's always nice to go up there once a year and meet with them and hear about some of their challenges and successes. But before we met with them, we held our regular meeting. Some of the things we discussed regarding things like the Norgan Theatre, talked about how the debt would probably be somewhere around 15 to 18,000 at the end of 2015. Just found out a couple of days ago that it's actually around 13,478 left owing. So this is probably going to be the year end that debt gets paid off in full. And just yesterday, we had our Norgan meeting, and the Lions made their final $3,000 contribution. That's their 10th and final installment, so $30,000 over 10 years. They kept their word, and wonderful. So that amount wasn't included in the 13,478, so that's more like 10,478 now. We held a special event on Family Day. We had a kid-friendly comedian / magician come in, did a show. We had 90 walk-ins. We sold 42 tickets online, so we basically sold the place out. Probably made about $1,000 off of that, and that'll help go towards the debt too. So things are looking good. Very happy with how things are progressing with the board and the volunteers and the captains and the projectionists and everyone who's had a hand in that. Just with respect to some of the programs that we run in-house, hockey's about to wrap up in Clifford. That program's gone quite well. We've had a great turnout on average weekly, usually 18 to 20 kids, and we've got 23 in the program. So that's a high rate of turnout, and it's nice to see the progression from the start of the year until now. Spring's around the corner, and we're just getting ready for a lot of our spring and summer programming. More specifically, we've got mass registration coming up in 2 weeks. Next week. March break day camp in 2 weeks, and then try it program, Kids Ball Hockey League, hoping to get another basketball session into Norwell too from April to May. So things are looking good on those fronts. With respect to the facilities, something that's ongoing at PRAC is just the discussion around concession booth operations. Just brainstorming some different scenarios possibly for next ice season. As Al mentioned in his report here, we're basically running them at break even or at a slight deficit. So the committee is going to take the next couple of meetings to sort of go over the different options that might be available. Perhaps a community group might want to come run it for a nominal fee or something like that. So that's something you might see at a future meeting, is a recommendation from PRAC to pursue a specific course of action. We had a few minor equipment repair and maintenance issues at all of the facilities, whether it's the Olympia door in Clifford, recirculating pump in Palmerston, Harriston with the outage. There were a couple of pieces of equipment that were affected negatively, some burnt out bulbs and stuff. So those have all been repaired, but it certainly doesn't help the budget. With respect to usage though, 2016 weather-wise hasn't been too bad. Had a lot of rentals, tournaments, regular usage, so revenues are looking good right now. Typically this is our best 4 months are basically November through February for generating revenue. We did have a donation request come in for the 16th annual hospital gala. It's on Saturday, May 28th. It's going to be in Palmerston. Typically when it's at one of our facilities, we do basically our in-kind sponsorship is the donation of the facilities. And they also ask each time for the 25% council grant off of the bar proceeds, and that's something that we've always done as well. So in the minutes, you'll see a recommendation from PRAC to council that go through again, basically through the accepting and approval of these minutes. Something we looked at in detail in January was some of the recreation rates. Later on in the agenda today, there'll be, I believe, 3 sections that are affected, one of them being recreation. Just from reviewing kind of where utility costs are going, both Al and I are recommending a $2 per year increase for our summer sports groups and our winter ice rates. The summer sports groups, those are the basically the per participant fees for the kids. So that would go from 30 to 32, but we can get into that in a bit more detail later on in the agenda. There's also some price increases proposed for the pool and our day camp program, and like I can get into more detail on that later. So PRAC isn't in a position to approve. They're just kind of endorsing those increases, and just want to let you know in advance that we did talk about it as a committee and sort of went over some of the reasons why we're sort of moving in the direction that we'd like to with those rates. So we met last night. Those minutes will be ready for next council. So I'm not sure if there's any questions pertaining to these minutes.
Mary Lou had a
I
question.
just have one. Right now, the concessions at Terraston and Palmerston are being run by staff. Is that correct?
Through Mayor Bridge, yes, we have booth staff that we hire for the season. So being able to kind of hire local kids, that would be one detraction from maybe looking at service groups coming in and running it. So yeah, it does provide a job for some of our local youth.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. And pardon me if I haven't kept up to date on the workings of minor sports and whatnot. But back in previous day, we used to, as parents of teams and whatnot, used to do a lot of fundraising and to keep the registrations at low. Does that still go on? Or my second question is I believe there was indoctrinated at that time a system that if you didn't want to help fundraise, you paid X number of dollars towards the sponsorships of that team. Does that still go on as well?
Through Mayor Bridge, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
For example, the skating club in Harriston, you get a set amount of raffle tickets, and then it's up to you if you want to try and sell them or if you just want to sort of buy them all yourself. So there are definitely some means there. Some parents, like you say, it doesn't matter to them, but for some it does. So they still have those types of things in place, definitely.
Okay, good. Thank you.
It works its way right up to grandparents.
Grandparents, it sure does. It sure does.
Right.
You know, and I'd have to give the groups a lot of credit. They do a lot. The cost of running sports these days is phenomenally high, especially hockey and their sports. Ball's maybe not quite as bad, but and soccer and that, but certainly there's cost involved. Councillor.
We asked facilities manager to do a breakdown. And, Councillor Turton and myself and facilities manager, a couple of meetings from now, Councillor Turton attending for 29th of meetings.
Right. Yeah.
And we'll do the breakdown on the presentation of exactly what it costs the community to operate. For example, we brought out one breakdown. Per hour to operate our arena is $230. So that gives you an idea. That'll give you an idea, and we're going to do a breakdown on everything that we do in recreation, so that we can show the costs and show how much the taxpayers supporting these events. So we hope in 3 weeks we'll have that all worked out.
Could I ask, is that 24/7, Councillor Elliott? The $230?
No, I think the $230 is
the operating times. Okay.
Through Mayor Bridge,
Yes.
I think what Al was referring to is if you took our current ice usage as is and weighted against our operating expenses, we would need to charge basically $230 an hour across the board to break even.
But on your 24/7, I know when I was in Barrie and operating the event center, they put a private arena in Barrie, and they operated 24/7, and they needed over $200 back then. That's going back 10 or an hour. And because it was Barrie being a fairly manufacturing area, there was enough people that come off shift at 11 and they'd actually do ice time. but various times there was prime time and other times, but their average hourly was $200. And I believe it'll come back in the report, but I believe with minor hockey, it's just under 100 that we charge.
Currently, they pay
So,
99 an hour.
but
for
that's part of what we
their
do
usage.
as far as
Yeah.
recreation is part of why you want to be in this community. So,
Yeah.
but it's good that I like the fact that PRAC's doing that. And on the concessions, we got a prime example of how they can be run by a group, and that's PRAC who run it up in Clifford. And
Yeah, Clifford Rec Association.
yeah, I'm sorry, Clifford Rec, CRA, not PRA, CRA.
The other
And they ran it for years and made money and put it back into ice time and other things in Clifford. So it can work. It is nice to have the students also have an opportunity to get some, because that again allows student employment as well. So I'm looking forward to the reports and that, but I'm not going to get into it big time right now.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Matt, last night we talked about it's really important for us to get the ice in, but it's important as well to get the ice out when our minor hockey, our major users finished playing their seasons. Can you expand a little bit about some of the issues over the next month when the ice is going out, if you don't mind?
Through Mayor Bridge, it's looking like Clifford's ice will come out on the 14th or 15th of March. Harriston will likely come out on the 27th. That's a Sunday. And we're anticipating, fingers crossed, that the 81s are going to go all the way to the AA championship. That being said, and knowing that they would probably want ice in Palmerston until early April, we've actually committed to hosting a broomball tournament the 1st through the 3rd. Just might as well take the ice bookings now if you're preparing for it. So fingers crossed that the 81s beat Saugeen Shores here, and April 3rd would be the last day in Palmerston. So
saying that, Mayor Bridge, is it possible for you to ask our friends up north to read our meter April 4th or 5th?
They can't do that. I have already looked into that. The system doesn't work out exactly like you think they can read it, and I've looked into that. You can't read it. So if you're going to go into April, you're going to be into a month West Ontario. I looked into it, Dave. There's no way around it. It's not as simple as what we think.
Yeah.
That's all worked into the overall price, so can't be done.
Where's your glasses?
Well, it's not that, Ron. It's like in fairness, you're asking. I'm on that board. It works for everybody, all 7 municipalities, right? And they don't have a policy in place, and they'd have to redo their policies in order to do it. And we may be the only one affected at this point in time. I don't know. But it's not as simple as just reading the meter. We think it's as simple as reading the meter. There's more to it than that. So I have looked into it, unfortunately. So we'll have to deal with it. Now, the staggering the ice, that was a great opportunity. Like a few years back, we looked at that and staggering, and I believe it cuts about a month out of having all 3 arenas open at the same time, and it works out really well for keeping our deficit down.
for sure. Yeah, we typically get off to an earlier start in Palmerston just for power skating for minor hockey. So you're typically looking at early to mid-September. You start building ice probably September 1st or 2nd, and then ready for rentals by the 8th or 9th. Yeah. Okay.
Anything else? Motion to accept? Councilor Turton, Councilor Caldwell, all in favor?
Thank you.
We could take the money out of our dividends we get, Dave, and give it back to recreation. Ask the treasurer for that. Launch it. Oh, here she is. Hi.
Here I am. Hello, thank you for having me today. Finally, Launchit got to meet without snowstorms and.
It's already. Let me look out for you.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you're good.
It's looking good.
You're good.
We're not
You'll get home tonight.
Yes, for sure.
Campbell get home. You'll get home.
We won't all be bunking out here. Anyway, the minutes before you are from our meeting Tuesday, February 9th at Launchit. The board met and we discussed the feasibility of continuing to keep Unit 3. Currently we have Unit 4 where the main office is and Unit 3 beside it, and the wall open. It was decided that we would give up Unit 3 to have some cost savings and move over some of the tenants that are there into Unit 4, making that functional. Since then, we've had some more conversations with the landlord and various other people, and we will be revisiting this topic next Tuesday at our meeting. So that's still a little bit undecided or confirmed. We have some good news in the business flight program and some of our training programs. We had 5 graduates last month from the business flight program, the first intake, and a lot of them had some glowing things to say and received great resources and help from this program. Since then, I have followed up with some people who had expressed interest in becoming or applying to the business flight program, and we have 1 new applicant that has started, and he's been attending the seminars and training courses and meeting with Harold DeVries up until this point, our small business advisor. So he's taking kind of advantage of this program, and hopefully we'll see some success and growth in his business venture. And then I've met with 3 other new potential applicants for the program and kind of given them the outline and told them what's involved in the program. So they're going to read up on that, and hopefully we'll have 3 more new businesses that we can assist and carry on. Harold DeVries he comes up once a month. He's from Guelph Wellington Business Enterprise Center, and he is always jam-packed booked. He's this invaluable resource for us to have and be able to send people with any questions to. He generally has between about 6 and 8 people that he meets with each month when he comes up, so his day is fairly busy, and getting great feedback from those people that meet with him. We also, in the business flight program, I kind of skipped over, but we have the partnership with Renew Northern Wellington, and there's 2 participants in that program, and they are also automatically put into the business flight program. So we have those 2 people. Right now, currently, Wellington North is working on finding mentors for their people over there, so we don't overextend our mentors on this side. So that's kind of the update there. Kind of exciting, some turnover and some new things happening. In December, we finished up a 5-part Lunch and Learn series called the Developing the Leader Within You. And it was really well attended. A lot of people from the town office came. And I'd say on a whole between 14 and 17 people were generally in attendance for those lunches. And some feedback that we got, a lot of people felt it changed their mindset as how they would work with colleagues or how they would work with employees or even just in their general life. So it had some impact on people. We will be resuming another series in the spring, but for March, we have a Lunch with Nader event booked. The date is confirmed. I still have to get some promotional material out, but he's our Conservative MP rep for Wellington and Perth County. So that will happen March 30th at launch it from 12 till 1. And then we had, some of you people in the room were in attendance when we had Jackie Lauer from Heart of Culture. She came and spoke to us on February 11th. She spoke on emotional intelligence in business, how to relate, how to get the best out of your people and your life and whatnot. And I think it was really well received. I enjoyed myself, and I hope everyone else did that was in attendance. We had about 25 people attend that event at Launch It. So and it really just showed us what word of mouth can do, because we put promotional things out there, but it was when we got speaking to different people that we connected with them and they came. On another note, we have a new applicant as well for Starter Company. If you remember last year, Lacey opened Alora Street Flowers, and she's been now in business for a year. And we have another local girl who has just applied and going through the process of Starter Company. So with any luck, we'll have another success story on that front. Should be good.
And on that, Starter Company, is it a $5,000? I can't remember. It's $5,000.
I think it's 5,000. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a $5,000 grant to get a company up and running. Or
that's right. Yeah, and they have to be under 30.
Yeah, great program.
Yeah, really, really great program. So. And I think they're all full at the moment. I think a lot of people are starting to utilize it, which is really great. Okay, that's all on that page. The next item, we have some more great news here. Waterloo Wellington Community Futures Development Corporation offered last year and then again this year a training grant where they give you up to $1,000 to pay for 50% of costs to run a training seminar. Usually last year we did it on customer service. This year we're going to do a sales seminar, and by popular demand we have Neil Dunsmore coming back to facilitate that. He was a pretty great speaker and quite engaging and funny. and it's called Sell It Like You Mean It, and it will be happening March 23rd from 7 to 9 at the library in the community room. We've booked that space. So that's exciting, and so you'll see some promo material coming out in the next week or so about that. As far as the egg incubator, right now we were looking at the feasibility of incorporating agricultural element into the incubator process. It's on hold right now. We're currently looking at some potential funding and partnership opportunities. So that's where that stands. And then lastly, in marketing for Launch It, we're trying to think of creative ways that we can market Launch It that we're going to engage in impact. And I think based on what we've done in the past and what we've tried, phone calls and actually walking into doors and whatnot is certainly the best way to target specific businesses that are going to utilize these services. So we've kind of developed a plan to utilize social media a little bit more and become more active on there, as well as word of mouth and community engagement by possibly going to the different organizations around to speak about what Launch It's doing. And we also are planning to attend the showcase event March 21st and 22nd in Arctic. So that's kind of up to date. Does anyone have any questions?
I just have a comment on the egg incubator. It sort of was going to be this small project that we thought we'd do, and when I think Belinda and Summer, you had how many people show up to the original?
24.
Yeah.
24 people showed up across the board on agriculture, so it became a bigger project, and that's why we're looking for some red grant funding and putting it off to 2 or 3 communities and maybe even the county wide eventually.
Absolutely.
So it's just something that's got traction.
Yeah.
And we'll see where it goes from there. But
obviously, the interest in need is there.
yeah,
so
a lot of people wanted to come and play.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We'll see what happens.
For sure. Hopefully. Okay, great. Thank you.
I have one comment. We heard that at Roma Ogra on the weekend or last week, that in Ontario, in Canada, in the next number of years, agriculture and clean water are going to be where our employment growth is going to be.
Really?
So
right, that's right in line then.
Yep.
Better get on it. Better get working.
Yeah. And as you read in the paper today, CETA has got through the legal part, so the European Trade Agreement, which I know in talking with the county and where we are with that, is it's a big agricultural component there for opportunity for us to get some trade into Europe. Linda, you're next.
Sorry, I just welcome myself.
Oh, do we have a motion to accept that? Yeah.
Not yet. You haven't.
Yeah.
Ron, all in favor? Great. Okay, sorry.
All right, I will be brief because I think I was just here at the last council meeting with the previous Culture Roundtable minutes, but some things that have happened since that, I guess, are we have confirmed that we are going ahead with our volunteer training programs, and our first one will take place in April in Wellington North in Mount Forest. We have secured Reva Cooper, who is the program coordinator for the volunteer management program at Conestoga College, and we're having an event March 31st that our community groups are invited to attend. We're going to show them how to use the volunteer portal, and Reva is going to give a 30-minute kind of overview on the 3 R's of volunteer management, so recruiting, retaining, and recognizing your volunteers. Then we will host a session in May in Harriston. I'll go back to Mount Forest in October, and then we'll host one in November. So it's a 4-part series. It will include a meal, and it's going to be very affordable for the groups to attend. Basically, they're just paying for their meals. It's $20 a session, or if they come to all 4, they get a discount. It'll be $60 for all 4.
Where's the one on the 31st?
It's in Harriston at the library.
What, the library?
At the library basement, yeah.
The time?
6 till 7 is the social hour. So the groups can kind of network and share when their events are happening. We try to avoid double booking of events certain weekends, and if that happens, how can we work together to make both events better? So we're trying to encourage that again this year, and then having the presentation start at 7.
We'll get everybody an invite out.
Sure.
Electronic.
Our next meeting, we were planning on having Gregory Smith, who Gregory presented at our volunteer event there. He has a youth leadership program called Flipping the Iceberg. And I talked to Paul Richards at Norwell, and they're very interested in partnering with us on that. So we're just working on some details and hope to have more available after our, I guess, April meeting, because March is Easter. Mark McKenzie also came to council, I understand, when I was away, and we discussed that a little bit at our meeting, but the local marker program, that'll be coming back to the group in April. So there was a little bit of confusion on what exactly our role would be and what they were looking for. So we have some questions about that one. Taste Reels, May 28th. I'm just going to skip down here. Freelance writers. So we had a lady contact us who's a freelance writer. She writes for the Toronto Star, and she is writing a story about young people moving out of cities into rural communities, which was kind of fitting because that's one of our things that we're working on. So we told her a lot of the stuff that we're doing. And then it's funny, Megan won that award with the Royal Ontario Institute being recognized, and they suggested they speak to her too, and she's from here, so it's kind of neat, the tie. So we'll see if there's an article in the Toronto Star soon about that. And you would have noticed the new community attractions guide that hit the mail on Friday. So Matt and I worked on that this year with a new designer, and that's Heather Waterworth from Worth Creative Communications, who's one of the tenants in the old post. So has a fresh new look, and yeah, so hopefully everybody...
I brought it just for that reason.
There you go. Hopefully everybody likes it. And
you'll
note
new look, eh?
It has a whole fresh new look.
That's great.
And you'll note that it's a spring summer edition. So this is the first year we're going to do spring, summer, and fall, winter. And just so if you have any comments that we can incorporate into the next issue, we welcome those. And I think that's about it, in case anyone has any questions. No, excellent.
Good job.
Motion to accept. Bert, Councilor Caldwell, all in favor? Very good. Busy. Trees for Minto. You doing that, Bill, or who's doing that? Me?
You are, I think.
Am I?
Only one at the meeting.
I was the only one at the meeting? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, exciting. Yeah. Yes, Judy wasn't. Yeah, Judy was there too, but okay. All right, well, we met on, what day was that? January 26th, Tuesday. And what basically, I'll just kind of, you got the report in front of you. What we talked about is we have a new chair in Jared, and he did a good job at the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority. We had opportunity to have a few things, David, at that. It was nice the way they worked that out, that we had
Very well set up.
opportunity to talk about trees for Minto and a few other things. So it's moving along. We wordsmith it again, our letter, and our letters have gone out, I believe, and she's not here, but they've gone out, I believe, to some of the landowners that we've sort of identified as being potentials for some of our trees to be planted, and we're going to be following up with some personal contact with some groups. Talked about the windbreaks. We had, as Rob Johnson's here, and Rob again talked at the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority too, and talked about the value of trees. So that's really where we're at, and we'll hopefully get some action in the spring, and we have opportunity to plant some in the spring, and then we're going to be actively involved at the IPM. I'm going to say that at the IPM we're going to have an actual, what we're going to do is put fairly large trees in pots and actually put them in the ground so we can take them back up again, because Earl doesn't want to necessarily cut around them later. But we're going to actually have a windbreak there. We're going to show living snow fence type operation. So it's really going to be an interesting display. Rob's got that all figured out. I have now got another person that has fairly large trees that are in pots that we can bring. He has a hole that puts them in, and he actually can sell them to farmers as well. So these are fairly like 7-8 footers that you could get your windbreak going really quickly, rather than the small ones you see that sometimes get planted.
Takes a long time to step.
Really interesting, and there are a lot of facts on how much value added. Like, so we have the program for the county is for a windbreak or for a living snow fence. You get so much per year until they actually get such a size that they actually, so you'll get so much if you take 3 acres out of production, you'll get money to offset that acreage. But after 3 or 4 years, you can start seeing the benefits with, and Rob's the one to explain it to you, but how the snow filters back onto the field, how you knock down on your dust and soil erosion. So they actually have, through trees of Mapleton, which have been around for about 20 years now, a lot of scientific facts to show you that there's a value to the farmer. So it's a win-win situation when we're in this situation. So it adds value to where we're at. We had an opportunity to talk to Glenn Murray at Good Roads, the environmental minister, and about climate change. And trees is a big part of trying to get climate change under control. So trees will be a big thing coming through your new cap and trade and everything else. So there might be a lot more money available to look at some of this technology that we're working with. So it's exciting for Trees for Minto, and I really think it's finally getting off the ground. But we certainly need more volunteers if anybody wants to come, or farmers that want to be involved in it, because we certainly need to get some of the crops up and running for next year. Anything else? Any questions for me?
That's why Brian is here.
Brian is here for. Well, you know, Brian has quite a bit of trees on his land. I know that. He's very conscious of the environment. I need a seconder and a mover. Deputy Mayor Faulkner, Councillor Turton, all in favor? Okay. Any questions? You can try to stump me. I'll just say, ask the real experts. Now, are you doing this again, or did you just do it the last time?
No, I didn't do it the last time. I'm doing it this time.
All right.
I can omit it.
You had a lot. You had a lot in your first minutes. Okay, come on up.
Yeah, there's going to be a bit of deep.
All right. Well, launch it. Oh yeah, we have it on the tape. Okay, good.
Yeah, excellent. This is my hero. And it's my first time doing it, so bear with me.
All right. Did you want to put that? You just use that mic, yeah.
Oh,
Tell me when to
okay,
change.
as long as I can move as well. This is pretty self-explanatory. So in 2015, the Launch It board consisted of Chair Glenn Hall, Mayor George Bridge, Councillor Mary Lou Colwell, Belinda Witt-Graham, Ralph Drost, Hope Robertson, which should read right. We didn't change that yet. Justin McIntosh, Calvin Fry, Ryan Closleg, and myself, Summer Gerber. So we want to thank our funders, for sure, the town of Minto. We appreciate your continued support. OMAFRA, the Minto Chamber of Commerce, and Wellington County. And these are our partners. A lot of them we're connected with often. You'll see one new partner up there, Conestoga College. Back in the fall, Mayor Bridge, Belinda, and myself sat down with Jennifer Fletcher, who's the head of the Center for Entrepreneurship at Conestoga College. And they were interested in connecting with us and trying to branch out a little bit into this part of the county and make themselves more of a presence. And they offered a 3-part training series for entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, the first 2 were canceled due to weather, so we decided to move them back and actually launch them starting with the Pitch It competition. So we're going to run them in conjunction with the Pitch It competition, which I think maybe serves better. And then Wellington Waterloo Community Futures and Saugeen Economics. I touched on in the minutes that we received a grant from Wellington Waterloo, which is exciting news. And then Innovation Guelph and BDC for funding opportunities that we sometimes defer to. These are a few of the promotional items that we put out to the media over the past year. Yep, that one, the ones that look like that, all showed in the Rural Route magazine, as well as at the Norgan Theatre. They played slides there along with some video that we did, some promotional video. And the ads that look like this ran in the Wellington Advertiser the months of September, October, and November, just to highlight what we were doing at Launch It, our training courses for the fall lineup, as well as room and office space for rent, and the BFP program it focused on. We do currently still have room and office space for rent, which I will touch on later on. So that's some of the promotional stuff. Some of our BFPs there, and Joe McLaughlin in the bottom. I didn't get Triton on there, but we had one for them too. So trade shows, events, and tours that Launch It attended included the Wellington Nose Showcase that was in Mount Forest in the spring, which we will again be attending in Arthur at the end of March. The Clifford Rotary Club, Launchit went and spoke to the Rotary Club just to say what we were doing and our connection with the chamber and the community and how we could be involved and help in any way. We had a booth at the Norwell Job Fair. And last spring in April, we did the Mayor's Breakfast, the 3-part series, which we are doing again in May. And I have confirmation. So May 6th, it's at Gemstones in Clifford. May 13th, it's at Harry Stone's in Harriston. And May 27th, it's at the Royal Spoon Cafe in Palmerston, which will be newly renovated by then. So it would be great to move our business around and inform people on what's happening. In May, you'll remember we had the Norwell 75th reunion. And Launchit was a stop for 2 of the bus tours that went through. So it was a great opportunity to connect with all sorts of people from out of the community that had come back to visit and tell them about what we're doing at Launchit and how we're helping businesses to try and grow and see. And then WOWSY events, every opportunity Launchit gets to go and speak there or just attend, we certainly do. And last April 30th, I believe Councillor Colwell and Mary Lou went to the University of Waterloo. Sorry, and Belinda, you know who I mean. Yeah, these two went, and we had the economic development students from the University of Waterloo come up and do a first impressions of Launchit. And then they went back and they did a day's worth of kind of a project. And then I believe that evening they spoke on it and what their first impressions were. And it was quite glowing. A lot of them had some great feedback for us, and we've taken initiative to do some of the things they recommended, and yeah, it was nice to hear. So also Guelph Wellington Business Enterprise Center had a wake-up call networking event in Guelph. It was, I think 7:30 some early morning when I first started this job. And anyway, went and spoke about Launchit in the chamber and connected with a few people there. And lastly, at GBEC, they have the LIP Council, which is Local Immigration Partnership, which I am on the Launchit is on the committee for that. So that's been pretty. All right, I could use a break. But it's nice to be part of that committee because it's supporting employment and streamlining the process for immigrants coming to Canada to find employment, and how different outlets or apps or whatnot that they can access to make their process a little easier. So in doing that, I'm able to be on that committee and say, well, we have jobs in Minto. Come here. We have 7 mentors currently in the program, and so Mayor George Bridge is one, Wendy Lockwood from Kimball Printing, John Burgess from Kimball Printing, John Knoll from Wellington Construction, Bethany McMullen from Loblaws Canada, Paul Brown from Brown Insurance, and newest one is Heather Waterworth from Creative Works. These are pictures to represent our 5 recent graduates from the Business Flight program. The first one there didn't have a face picture of her, but is Carolyn Piquet from Cover Ups Flooring. She came to us with some special needs. Her business was growing too fast, and she really just needed to streamline it and talk to people who have been in this situation. So we connected her with Bethany for HR issues that she had, and along with a few other people, and Harold as well. And she was really grateful for that experience and attended all sorts of seminars and whatnot. And she's opened up her new location in Arthur, but still, we still like her. And then Caitlin Hall is up top there. Of course, you know Caitlin from Reroot Organic. She's a graduate. And then below, this is Morgan Jensen from Lead Left Productions. He took on another job, but still was engaging with the program, and he's now a graduate as well. He's doing boards and bands and bikes, I think, bands and boards in Mount Forest. This will be his 2nd year doing that event. It's growing his business. And then Lori Alexandro from Chestnut and Oaks in Clifford. She just opened recently, but again, she's had a bit of a occupational, not change. She still has her store, but she's extra busy now. So, and then Mike's Decor, Mike Charlebois. So he's a graduate. So we have 10 Business Flight participants, 7 mentors, 5 recent graduates, and 1 new and a few other with the Renew program. So it's being utilized. So This is a picture of Felix and Bernice Weber. You probably know them as Ag Business and Crop Inc. And they've just started building. I think they're well on their way in the thank you, industrial park in Palmerston. And this is just a testimonial from them, how they really utilize the launch of services. I can read it to you if you like, or if you can read it, that's fine too. What's that?
Good.
Okay, good. Thanks. But they really got the most out of this program. They met with several different mentors. They came to any training session that would even remotely pertain to their business. And now actually Felix has approached me and asked if he could potentially be a mentor. So it's, kind of that growth that we really, really hope for and strive to get. So we're grateful to have them around. Now, these are two celebrations that we've had at Launch It. The graduation of Innovative Print, which I'm sure you're all aware of. That happened in June. So Innovative Print, we had grown from 2 employees to 4 in under a year at Launch It in that location. They moved to their beautiful new location downtown Harrison and continued to grow and serve Minto. That was a pretty great day. Hot.
Soon to be again.
Exactly. And then just in February, Triton Engineering, they moved out into the old post. Excuse me. Yes, zoom in there. And into the old post. And they continue to grow. They've hired another employee to serve Minto better and to continue to grow in this community. They sad to see them go, but we're really supportive of the Old Post initiative and what they're doing there. We think it's just fantastic and continue to try and support them. And touching on that, you see we've obviously lost 2 tenants, but it's fairly recent, and we are working really hard to try and meet with people and think creatively to utilize that space to the best of our ability and regain some of the income. But it's still to note that Infrastructure Ontario, Randy Scott Counseling Services, Phil Naylor from the Glen Terra Center, McLaughlin Financial, and then some occasional rentals are still coming in there using the space monthly, weekly. So it's still certainly being used, which is important to note. Right? Events and training. These are fun statistics for me. So we've had 17 training sessions over the past year and 216 attendees, which I think is a pretty great number considering the size of our community. I think it looks great. 6 lunch and learn sessions with 78 attendees. 3 BFP info sessions. So those we did early on before we got our 10 business flight people. We would have information sessions, people interested in the program, just to fill them in on what it's about. We had 12 attendees and 10 business flight people. So I think most who attended became a member or became a participant. And then 12 small business advisory meetings, meaning Harold DeVries became 12 times, and 30 people saw and sat with Harold for well over an hour. So that was really great. These are just pictures of some of our training flyers that Heather Waterworth actually created those. They're quite lovely and informative. And then some of our sessions for the boardrooms being filled to capacity. And over the year, 1,012 people or businesses have used Launch It services, meaning not Chamber of Commerce people coming through the door, but coming through the door to ask questions on how to register their business, on, can they meet with someone, what is needed to do this or file taxes. And if I can't answer it, which many times I can't, I certainly have the resources at my fingertips that I can, and I get them those answers and help them. So I think people are starting to learn in the community that they can come to us and we'll figure it out or help them guide through this process so they don't have to struggle and be bounced from different areas. So yeah, part of that. And the Launch It Celebration Dinner, which happened November 12th in the library there, where we just honored and celebrated our mentors and our mentees. Here it was a great night. I wasn't able to make it, but there was, I think, 40 people or so in attendance and a good meal. Thank you. But yeah, that was kind of a highlight, anyway, just a celebration of some of our mentors there. And then boardroom and meeting room facilities are still available for rent and use, and it does get used quite a bit. It has the large boardroom table, the smart TV, conference camera, whiteboard, and as well as the private meeting space in the meeting room. So that's always available there. different usages or different people that come in and use this space. Launch It board meets there once a month. Launch It training seminars, generally twice a month. Chamber board once a month. IPM committee meetings, depending on the month, but generally we get 2 committees that meet there monthly. And Harrison Downtown Revitalization, Cultural Roundtable, Savor the Flavor Committee, Launch It mentor mentee meetings, tenant usage, and just occasional rentals as well. Looking ahead into 2016, Launch It will focus developing and growing our training, mentorship, and business life program. Those are 3 really key things that we want to focus on because they are taking off and gaining ground, I think, and much needed. Potential incubator expansion into the agricultural industry, growing and strengthening Launch It's existing partnerships with our current partners. Intentional and targeted marketing campaigns for Launch It, i.e. word of mouth, social media, service club outreach, and continued growth in the neighboring communities with the Renew Northern Arlington program. Have any questions?
Great. Questions for someone?
I just would like to add something. So Summer did a great job of covering off all the stuff that's been going on at Launch It. One of the things I think it's interesting to note is that having that street presence is a big deal. Like most of the time people will go and see Summer there and she'll refer them to me or I can refer them on. But it's because you have this present on the street. People are going in there and she's helped so many people register their businesses, connect them with different funding opportunities. So that's kind of a hard thing to measure. If you don't have that, sometimes people can't find you even if you're on the web or whatever. So it's an important element for sure. And that's the biggest thing with Launch It is being a facilitator and being able to help not just startup businesses, but existing ones that are growing for sure.
And I even get, any way that I can help, I do, but I get a lot of ladies will come in. There's one lady in particular, and she's come to me for social media help. She has a business, and she just doesn't know how to work the Facebook and all that stuff. So I sit down with her, and I've kind of shown her the ropes, and spent an hour with her. And she's like, I've been to 4 different places for this. I didn't get answers. Now she's all on her own. She's up and flying with it. So just little things like that, and people appreciate it, and then they spread the news about it. So it's it takes time to get for people to know what you're doing there, but once they have got a grasp of it, I think it's really important.
And at the EDCO conference in February, one of the main things was about startup communities and how your community needs to be a startup community supportive of small businesses and have these resources in place, especially rural communities if your community is going to grow. So I just think it's important to note some of those things that we're on the right track, and sometimes these things take several years to grow, and this is something to know. It's only not even, we haven't even been in business 2 years yet. So I think we've had some good success.
Actually, my comments were going to be much what Belinda's talked about, and being at EDCO and hearing the praises of Launch It. And again, people don't realize, but we're in a small community, but we're going to survive by getting the small businesses up and running. We're not going to get many of the big factories anymore, and we have to understand that. And we've seen it already in our agricultural community. We've seen a lot of growth there. We've seen some of our smaller businesses going into our industrial parks. A lot of this and the mentorship. I always thought when we started Launch It, I understood we wanted to have sort of and we need it. We need the space, but I never thought that the office desks were going to be the big winner. I always thought it was going to be the flight program type idea, the outreach. And I'm so pleased to see after a year how that's really taken off. And I just want to make one little point. We have some amazing people out there, and we really need some more mentors. So, because we can get bigger and better, and so I would just make a point here. Anybody that's retired from business or has some time and they've had somebody help them in the past, it's not a big job, and they've come in and talked to you, Summer or Belinda, and let's get some mentors going so we can get more people on our flight program.
Absolutely, and the time commitment really just depends on what you have available. Like we work around the mentors' time available, and some give 4 hours a month, and some only have an hour a month to give. I mean, that's okay.
And what you talked about, just helping that lady with her social media, that hour or that 2 hours, you don't know what that does for her, because all of a sudden then now she can launch and do her things.
You're on there all the time.
Yeah, so. And she's going to get business from it and all that stuff. But those are the little things. It doesn't have to be 20 hours a week at 1 hour every now and again could be all you need. So I'm sure we're on the volunteer launch it program, portal program, are we, for launch it? Okay, so go on there and volunteer. Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Good job. Motion to receive. Deputy Mayor Faulkner working you. Councillor Anderson, all in favor? Oh, and he's right here already. He's very quick.
Storming out. We gotta get home.
You want to move it over?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Soon. No, it's
Okay, Ron, you want to take this over, or you want to?
Sure.
It's winter. It's all
Sure.
Oh, now he's going to use my phone.
I always wanted to do that.
Anyways, welcome, Chief. And I know there's a couple things on here about the PTSD legislation, and I have a comment. I just got home from a vacation, and my neighbor down there is a ranking fireman from Franklin, Pennsylvania. And they go through, we talk a lot about volunteers, how to get volunteers, and the cost of running the department and all that kind of stuff. And I think our hats has to come off and salute our local guys, because we don't have the problems that they have. And one of the, that's on the volunteer part. The other part I wanted to mention is that they're having a terrible time right now with this exact legislation and in respect to coverage for cancer. They finally got through state legislation that the insurance companies would cover the firemen for cancer. They added cancer simply because with chemical fires and that type of thing, that's a very, very discrete possibility for a fireman. And they just had some real difficulties doing that, and insurance companies are fighting that like tooth and nail. So it's all stuff that you learn, and we sure appreciate your efforts, Chief, on that. So having said that, I'll turn it over to you to bring us up to date on the PTSD legislation.
Okay, thank you. I'm not going to read it all, but the report's there for you to see that the province announced last week that they are going to proceed with presumptive legislation for PTSD. So presumptive means that if you are diagnosed with this illness, you will be automatically, as WSIB says, but automatically covered by WSIB for benefits through that organization in regards to this disease. So it's already taken place. You saw in the background for the cancers, and there's 12 of them, I believe, now. So now they're just extending that to PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. One of the things I'll mention is being part of the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs. We saw this coming a long time ago, and we knew it was coming down this road. So we started to make some inroads in the county to get ready for it, type thing. So one of the things that the OAFC's done is launched what's called Road to Mental Readiness. It's R2MR. So we brought that into the province, and we actually have 2 people that are trained in the county for the first course, and it was free training. They're going to come back and train all the firefighters to. It's a training course that started in the military. The police adopted it, and now the firefighters have it. And it's just to train you to the signs, symptoms, and that of PTSD, what we like to call OSI. Occupational stress injuries encompasses it all. PTSD just kind of focuses on one incident, but we like to think there's more. There's more than just PTSD. So we call it occupational stress injuries, or OSI. So just that's a program that we're going to bring to all our firefighters, train them all at here's the signs and symptoms, here's to watch out for, and here's some things that need to do. As Councillor Faulkner said, and one of the things I just want to point out is it's different with a volunteer setting, because if we're at a traumatic incident, which we've had lots, and we have things in place now to deal with it, we're a lot different than the full-time, because after the call, our firefighters come back, take their gear off, and go home. It's not like a full-time department where they can sit around the table at the station and talk it out and that kind of thing. So it's things that we've learned through incidents in the past that we have to do that. Sometimes you have to keep them from going back to work or going back home just to talk it out and figure out what happened and what they saw. So that's a unique thing with the volunteer sector that you have to really watch for. So we're going to train all of our firefighters with this R2MR program. And then also the Wellington County Fire Chiefs, we've talked, and again, knowing that this was coming, we're starting to look at getting peer support teams so that if we have a traumatic incident like we've had in the past, we'll have the ability to call Erin Fire Department or Center Wellington or someone like that to come down and help us with the debriefings and stuff like that, so that it's not our own people, because our own people won't be able to do that. So that's just in the initial stages, and we're looking at getting that going, but it's everyone in the county's on the same page, which is nice, and so we're working together to try and put a program in together that it's not just us with a program and someone else has a different one. So so that's that. I just put in there the financial considerations is WSIB rates we'll have to watch. My anticipation is they're gonna have to go up eventually, because to cover the cost of it. Us being a Schedule 1, Gord? Are we Schedule 1? Schedule 2?
We're Schedule 1.
Schedule 1, so we pay into the pot, right? So that as the pot gets less and less, we might have to pay a little bit more into there. But we'll keep our eye on that and see how that goes. Going back to Councillor Anderson's comments, I think one of the things, knowing what I know with dealing with ministries, so the OAFC board and that, is because it's different ministries, the Ministry of Health didn't jump on to the same policy that the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing and Municipal Correctional Services and the Ministry of Labor were the ones that launched this, but the Ministry of Health a lot of the times doesn't play with them, so to say. So I think the Ministry of Health just didn't jump on board with this legislation yet, and that's why it wasn't extended to the nurses. That when you're drafting your letter through AMO, I think it's the Ministry of Health that we have to lobby to do that, because it comes down to,
That's correct.
my opinion is it comes down to dollars and cents, and the Ministry of Health has to come up with the money to fund this for them. So that's just my opinion. But I think that's where the gap is in that they didn't come to the table with the Ministry of Labor. And I don't know that for sure, but
I don't know that either for sure. And I mean, we have things in house as you do, and I think one of the concerns that I was going to raise here is when we get into debriefing for people on a casual, part-time, or volunteer, is getting them back in an appropriate time frame, and it's very difficult to do. So I found in my experience that we have them in place, but it's really difficult to get people,
right,
because we're so diverse, and especially the volunteer group. We can't take another day off work to go to debriefing, which is happening, and if they don't happen soon, they become less effective. We still have our own mechanisms of coping, but it cannot be overstated the importance of this. I'm glad to see that it's come this far, but I think we need to take some. And I recognize we're unique in our small hospitals. It's a very rare situation where you have a hospital where there's only nurses in the building, but it's what we have. And it does have some impact. Emergency nurses are right there.
Yep.
As far as I'm concerned. I'm happy to read that.
And one last thing that I don't have in the report that I'm going to report back to you is one of the things that we could look at as a municipality we discussed at Department Heads of the Day is extending the EAP program that we have for employees, for all our full-time and part-time employees. It's not extended to our volunteers right now. So it might be a good idea to extend that to the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, to the volunteer firefighters to have them be able to access that. If they don't want to talk to me or don't want to talk to our group, but have that ability to call the 1-800 number to talk to somebody might be a benefit too. But we'll bring that back in a future report once we get more information on that.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Elliott?
Just a comment. Years ago, as I was a firefighter, many years ago, we didn't have any idea any of this, and I personally got affected twice with deaths, and I can still, it chokes me up. I can still remember going home, climbing in the shower, and completely breaking down. At the time that it happened, I had no idea this was affecting me. I had no one to talk to, and except my wife. So it's important. Still.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree with you 100%, Councillor Elliott. It's something. We had a shocking I'd say we had a shocking way of learning real fast how to deal with it when we went through the Listle incident in 2011. And that opened up my eyes to this and how important it is. And we've definitely taken a lot of steps towards it, but we got a long way to go to
Yeah, one was a teenager, one was a junior A hockey player that got killed. Except the other one was difficult.
Yeah.
Councillor Caldwell?
Yes, through you, Deputy Mayor Faulkner. I just wanted to ask, is there, especially maybe with volunteers, would there be a stigma attached at all to it? Is that a concern that people will admit that they are having issues with it, or do they feel comfortable talking to yourself or someone else?
To answer, I don't think it's just to volunteers. I think it's to emergency services in general. And maybe Councillor Faulkner can say from the police aspect, but having the paramedic experience he did and the fire experience, it's just the emergency services in general that you grow up in the business to be tough-skinned and you don't let it bother you, and you don't. That's the stigma. That's the old mentality, and this is changing. I think part of the thing that we have to do with our program that we have to adopt and look at is you have many different mechanisms for each individual to be able to talk to. So they can talk to somebody in person, they can talk to somebody through email, they can talk to somebody on the phone. It's whatever's comfortable with that individual, because everybody's different. So you want to have all of the abilities through various communications available to that person, that they can pick up the one that they want to use the best. Because a lot of people don't like talking face to face, to me, to a counselor, to anybody. So if they want to do it over the phone, then that's sometimes easier for them to get the ball rolling. So.
And I would suggest that it's a matter of education. The big thing is education, because, as Councillor Elliott said, when I was involved in that incident at Arthur, there was no such thing as post-traumatic stress syndrome counseling or anything else. It was suck it up, princess, and get back on the road. So it's a matter of, I think, the knowledge of the purpose of the organizations and the counselors and whatnot is well publicized today, and I think the acceptance is growing. That would be my estimation on that.
It's just a further
I think the acceptance is definitely growing on a full-time basis. I guess I was just thinking, when with part-time, would they feel the same abilities?
I don't think with the firemen, because the firemen are so well trained today, right? And that's all part of their training, is the knowledge of the organizations available to assist.
It is, yeah. It's definitely something we can improve on. Though. It's definitely something we need to get a lot better at, because to share them and then get them the resources. Available.
Just on the comments, and there's some great comments out here on it. And even in the banking industry, with robberies and whatnot, we had considerations where people couldn't go back to work because they couldn't handle people anymore. Like we really don't know. Mental health is such a tricky issue. I like what you're doing, Chris, on the further training. I like the fact that the county is going to be adapting some stuff too. It goes back to what everybody's talking about here. Not everybody will approach us the same way. And what you don't realize too, even after the event, there could be months after the event that something comes up. So if we all have our eyes on it, and we can see if anybody is suffering, that we can hopefully get them to the right situation, and that's what we have to do. And so I think it's a good step forward, but it's going to take some learning, and I think we just have to be vigilant of that. And I believe through the department heads, when you talked about our employee benefits plan, extending that to the volunteers, by all means. It's not very costly. We checked that already. We should have that in place and get it going, because that might be where they reach out, because there's always that tendency. We talked about it as, you're the tough firemen, you're the tough police officers, you're the tough, even the nurses, like they're tough, and they think they can have to take all this on. That's part of their job. Well, it isn't totally part of their job. If they get into a situation, they'll be able to outreach to somebody. If they can't do it to anybody close, then maybe somebody on the end of a phone that can give them some professional help will be there to help them. So appreciate bringing this forward, and
anything else
from there.
Then any other questions? Then the council receives, or asks for a motion. The council receives the information of the fire chief's February 22nd report entitled PTSD, presumptive legislation. Moved by Councillor Colwell, second by Councillor Turton. All in favor? Declare the motion carried.
Were we going to add, or are we just going to do it separately, Bill, to send work with what we're going to do with Jeans? Is that going to be part of
Didn't we do that through
correspondence? Okay, that's fine. We don't need it on that one. No, okay, good. Yep.
I'll turn the meeting back over to Mayor Bridge.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Bill, and he has fees and charges bylaw amendments.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. This report is outlining the fee increases proposed for this year. We last did the bylaw last February 2015. What we're doing is repealing the whole bylaw and including all the schedules at the same time. It just means we have one bylaw, and it means less confusion in the future. There's some increases are outlined in red in the report. We should say we did give notice that we were going to be considering the bylaw today. It's not a public meeting process, but people have a chance to comment if they did have concerns. We did not receive anything in writing on them. So there's a new fee for lottery licenses, elimination of a fee at the train station. The licensed events at the Harrison train station really weren't working out well, so we've taken that fee out. And some increases that you can see there. Schedule D. We heard reference to the youth rate. In the arena, that's $93, as you can see, if the bylaw is adopted with the new fee. That would apply for next season, not this season. Ball diamond rates are in there too. And some increases to the summer adventure camp costs, swimming lessons. Were there any questions the department heads may be able to answer?
I have one in respect to and questions what the meaning is under cemeteries, the monument charges. I'm not sure understand what those pertain to, because don't you need a monument, you go buy it and they put it in, or is this for a repair? Yeah, it's on page.
It's not on this one though, is it?
13, page 13.
No, we're not there yet. We're not on that report yet.
But it's the part of the bylaw that
It's in the bylaw?
It's in the bylaw that we're going to do the fee change. I just thought it would save discussion down the road.
I got you. Okay, so wait, I have to look that one up.
I just don't know what that means. Monument charges.
Possibly the what we call
Mike?
perpetual care and maintenance.
I don't know. I'm asking.
I haven't seen that part of it.
Oh, okay. It says monument foundations and markers. Fee is $50. $50 for what? I don't understand that.
I know what that is.
Oh, okay.
That's actually to mark the location for the monument.
Oh, to
itself.
mark the location
Yes,
for the
yes,
monument. Okay.
for the installation.
Now I totally understand. Thank you.
That's all stuff.
Yeah. Thanks.
That's keen reading, Deputy Mayor Faulkner, but that's in the bylaws, but that fee is not.
That's on the report. That's in the bylaws.
Okay.
Yeah, you're way ahead of us on this. You must have been all that relaxing stuff there that you were doing.
He's never been ahead of us.
It was some mighty quick reading last night and this morning.
Brian did actually come to talk about the bylaw. Was there anything in there, Brian, that you wanted to? Because I realized it.
So quick and flip them through.
Oh, okay.
Well, which fee would you like to?
Yeah, just the fees there. And mainly on the ball diamonds.
The ball diamonds? Questions on the ball diamonds, Mike? So.
Okay.
So
$50. Can I ask a question?
Sure. Yeah, I'll let you ask a question because I know you came for this purpose.
From the peanut gallery here.
Yeah.
Is that with or without lights?
Well, that's a good question. Have we got any rec guys here left? Oh, there's Matt.
It's with or without. It's
It's $50 a game. It doesn't matter with or without lights.
Generally, we I'm not sure if mic.
Yeah, you should be on a mic just in case. Yeah. Otherwise, there's just this no voice from this.
Okay, so basically the $50 rate, it's with or without lights. Typically what will happen is if a group gets the lights, they're typically the second rental of the night. So the diamond has been used before they get on the field. So they sort of get the lights, and that fee sort of offsets the first group sort of getting the groom and drag and line to them for their modifications. So, for example, you could have a minor ball group on before, and you have an adult group on later, and they've got to move the bases and sort of reline it if it's the chalk's all gone. So that's sort of the trade-off there.
Okay.
So it's $50 whether there's lights or not. Yeah.
And no season rate?
Basically, we cap it at 15. So after the 15th week, it really only affects the Minto Men's League.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be 15 by 50 is 750. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? Yeah, no problem. Anything else on those, Brian?
Well, that was the main thing.
Yeah, I knew you came
When
because
it was when with recreation on there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a bylaw. on it.
yeah, and we had kind of talked earlier, but that's why
Yeah.
I wanted if you had a question on it, you could ask.
Mhm.
Okay.
Nope, that's fine. Just get some of the hall rentals. Train station, but
So they're not going up.
No, the
Are
hall.
they?
just charge them by the hour.
Yeah, they're the same as last year.
You're talking, Drew. You do your own
Yeah, yeah.
schedule.
Right.
So our,
Yeah, we do. So,
Yeah.
but we like to
Keep
you know,
it
be
Reasonable. Yeah.
so Mayor Bridge, through you, the only ones that are shown in the report are ones that are increasing.
Mhm.
So the bylaw includes all the fees. The hall rentals would be the same as last year.
So the only hall rentals that's increasing is
Well,
the hourly rate on the arenas.
train station.
Train station,
we're taking a fee out there.
taking a fee out there.
We
Yeah.
won't do a licensed event there now. It's just not working.
And
Not a call for it.
the Norgan's going up $5 for.
So you can't have a licensed event at the train station?
If I may, through you, Mayor Bridge, not that we wouldn't do it, but we had a rate in there, and by the time for the volume of activity that happened at those events, by the time we moved everything over there, it just didn't pay.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
I
because-
see what you're
But
talking
we have to run the bars, so
Yeah,
we
that's
get
right.
over there, and there's about, if you're lucky to get 40 to 50 people in that size of room, that it
By 3
doesn't,
drinks.
3 drinks, and well, they won't hopefully no more than 1 drink.
It's nice
They
to
can't
see
drive.
you look at those things.
Yeah. Anyways, anything else?
That as a taxpayer.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. All right. Motion to accept. Deputy Mayor Faulkner, Councilor Caldwell, all in favor? Good. Okay, good. All right. Clerk's Department,
Yeah, and just writing minutes too.
minutes 2. Okay.
Okay, whoop, that wasn't good. Next matter deals with the clerk's department. We've been communicating with council on some reorganization we've been doing. Back in last summer, we looked in particular at the maternity leaves that we were heading into, and there were a couple at the time. The clerk's department and admin support and recreation services, building inspection, and so forth. Our new structure is in place. It's not the world's cleanest chart to see, but we are the same number of people we had administratively and organizationally in water, sewer, public works as we had in 2010. That's despite taking over the full operation of our water and sewer plants, particularly the sewage side of that, and also the new mandates in source water protection and in fire service inspections and the vulnerable occupancies. In particular, we're dealing with now is in the clerk's department. We did have someone leave the department last summer. We've looked at how things are running as a result of moving to the electronic agendas. And at one point, we did have a half-time reception position in that. We put that half-time position on hold. Our work now is less in copying and administration like that, and more of coordinating agendas, getting the record keeping going, getting the reports in and reviewed, and the structure more suits having a deputy clerk. And what I'm suggesting in this report is that we appoint Annaleen as a deputy clerk. Her job description has changed, and that draft job description is attached to the report. She recently, as you know, passed her CMO designation. She has 10 years experience, and she's also has the municipal MAP program. So she has the qualifications of a deputy clerk. She's been performing those duties, taking a lot off my plate as far as administration and approving certain things that, especially in the record keeping side. So my recommendation is that we move into that and promote her to that position. We add that to the structure, and that the new job description go to the job evaluation committee for review. This does move her up, at least for now, one pay band, and while she's at her job rate now, this would give her 2 more steps up in the future. So it's along the same lines as what happened in the building department when we hired an admin assistant, and then that admin assistant got qualified in source water protection and then got qualified as a building inspector. So Annaleen has gone through the same process on the clerk side, and that's my recommendation to you.
Deputy Mayor Faulkner.
Then we would then advertise for Annaleen's current position. Is that what have I got that clear?
No, her position as CAO council assistant would become the deputy clerk.
It's just a matter of upgrading her position to what it should be.
We're adding more work and more responsibility to her current job. We're changing the title and increasing the wage rate. And the admin work that had been doing on copying agendas and things like that is gone. And the half-time position that was associated with covering the front is temporarily on hold.
Perfect. Totally in favor of
that. Just to comment on this, we're so lucky in that Bill has taken the role of clerk and CAO, and a lot of other towns similar to our size in Wilmington County, CAO has a clerk as well. So Bill has been doing double-hatted on that, and also getting involved in other things as well. So this just goes to show, if you grow your people inside, and which Annaleen has done an amazing job of doing all this work, and it's not a light task to get her designation. There's lots of exams and other things. So I think this is a real win-win, and the fact that we've been able to hold our actual number of people to the 2010 level when we've had all those extra responsibilities added on. I think the staff, and we have a lot of people that are wearing a couple hats out there and doing a lot of cross training. And I think, Bill, your leadership is showing that, and I'm very supportive of this.
Yeah, Mayor Bridge, I think the e-scribe here as well it's really made our jobs a little bit easier. I mean, it's all right here, and with the help of Khalees and Annaleen, any help you need, it's here, and it's great. It really works well.
A lot of information really quickly.
And I think the thing is too, you can flip back to last meeting or 2 or 3 meetings ago. It's once you get onto it, pretty handy.
Just if I may add to that, thank you for the comment from council. The other side of it, and we're just starting into this, is the record keeping side, and the electronics allows us to store the records in the right place and then retrieve them in the future when we need to. So you'll hear the acronym TOMRIMS coming forward. So we're moving into the file management after we get used to doing the agendas this way, and all the department heads and all the staff are involved in that. So when we're complete, we will have 100% confidence in our record keeping, whereas the old paper records, maybe not quite 100.
We're not sure we can get it.
Do the best we can to find things.
TOMRIMS.
TOMRIMS it is.
More technology for me to learn. Wow. Exactly. Hopefully I'm not involved in that.
Hopefully you won't see too much of it. It's
Good.
Mostly at the department levels.
I'm still getting the scribe figured out, but it's coming. Any other comments? Motion.
Sure. Gladly make it.
Deputy Mayor Faulkner, Councilor Turton, all in favor? Very good. You're up again, Bill. I know, I'm going to get Jean in a minute. Jean gets a little cranky if I don't get her on. Thanks for coming, Brian. We'll see you on the 15th, right?
Yes.
Brian is already drumming up people to come to the budget meeting for it.
Perfect.
Not by yourself this time.
Thank you. No, it's good. Brian comes every year. All right. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. This is a summary of the Ogre Roma conference that we attended. It's just to indicate some of the things that happened there. Obviously, you can't get to all the sessions. If anyone wants to fill in on some things that I missed, please feel free to do that. This is an important event for us. I think there were some between 12 and 1,500 attendees at the session. There was a long bear pit session, as they call it, where you have all the ministers at the front and all the municipalities get to ask questions of the ministers directly, and they can become very skilled at not answering them, but they do at least give the opportunity to do that.
That's a great question.
We're working on that.
I was just totally amazed at the stick handling that was going on. Actually, when one asked a question to one minister and they stick handle it over to another one, and that minister usually answered it really well because they didn't have any skin in the game for money.
Right.
So that was the way to get around it. You're not going to get money.
Some of the best speakers, Mayor Bridge and Council, were I guess they call them plenary people, but the gentleman from Ecos Research, Frank Graves, and he spoke about the way people look at government these days at all levels and how that has declined over the years as far as faith in their government, and that includes municipal governments as well. But also he looked at issues that were important to people, and climate change and infrastructure continue to be very, very high, remarkably so, I would think. Whereas financial and taxation concerns are still high, but not as high as those. So essentially, if you're willing to spend on infrastructure and climate change, the theory is that the public is, at least in a general sense, supportive of that. Certainly improving our environment and having good infrastructure is important. Well, I felt it was a very important discussion from Mike Moffat, who's the chief economist at the Mowat Center, and he did speak about changes in the economy since the 1990s. He said there was 4 different acts as he identified them, and what he did is he linked that into the aging baby boom population. So, and then he came to the conclusion about where we are likely to go in the rest of this decade. And the issue I think now is that whereas conditions in the 90s were about the same, the oil prices and the value of the Canadian dollar, at that time we had a baby boom population that was in the prime income earning ages. So there was a lot of local Canadian market to be had there, whereas that is not the case now. That a lot of those people are retiring. Many of them have been retired for a few years now, and so they're not in their prime income earning ages, and the income earning ages are smaller in size than the baby boom generation, and also a lot of income freezing, very low growth in that area. So one of the most interesting maps I'd seen in a long time was a map that showed an area in Asia where there was 50% of the population in the world on 1/6 of the land area. So those growth areas are remote from here, but when you start thinking about the types of trade agreements that they're trying to negotiate and what we can offer here in Ontario and in Minto in particular, the idea of agri-food and clean, healthy food sources for a growing population and exporting it, and the need to get that export to market through rural transportation and airport capacity and having broadband in these areas. Those are the things he thought were important. Those seems to be the things that the province is hitting on now, and groups such as the Western Wardens are talking about as well. We did see the Premier announce some new funding in our Connecting Link, expanding the Connecting Link program, expanding the formula-based funding under the Community Investment Fund, and also upgrading, changing the rules in those areas too. So it seems like we are online for some more funding growing over the next 3 years in the area of infrastructure. But both the opposition leaders spoke. I won't get too much into their editorial comments. Suffice it to say, I think Hydro One, education, and joint and several liability were some of the concerns they raised. And of course, our MPP was front and center on that joint and several liability. And had we had the insurance report, we could have talked a little bit about that today. The other issue is on ombudsman oversight. We weren't able to connect with the acting ombudsman, Barb Finley, who did speak there, but we were planning on having a meeting with her. We didn't end up doing that, but there was some interesting sessions and discussion around what's going on. John Mascaron from Airden Burles Law Firm started his presentation out with a Latin saying, which translates roughly into "Who will guard the guards themselves?" So I thought that was an interesting way of approaching that.
I think I've made that rant.
Yeah. Suffice it to say that the new ombudsman, Mr. Dubé, is very well respected, and I think will bring a different tone and approach. And I will have a report for you next week on positioning ourselves to best handle some of these new obligations that we'll face. There was lots about climate change. I won't get into a lot of detail on that, but a climate change from the ministers, climate change from the businesses who hope to benefit from the funding that'll be out there. And then just a little bit about our delegation with Minister Murray, who talked about the cap and trade funds and then promptly went to the legislation that afternoon and announced them. So we were lucky enough to have our MPP there and to speak to them on our concerns about how that funding might be used. And although he did not say that anything about the 5 cents on the gas, but I think it was helpful to have that and certainly appreciate council's support. So that's what I found out at Ograroma, just a few of the key points: climate change, changing economy, and where we're going in these difficult times with low dollars and growing economies elsewhere.
Just previous to the conference, and I apologize for not being there and not knowing this answer, was there any discussion on that recent trail legislation that was causing quite a stir with landowners?
I did not. There were, I believe there may have been a session on it. We can have our recreation services manager, Matt, bring a report back on that. There has been a lot of discussion on it. For sure. A lot of conflicting information about what the implications are. So we can bring that back.
I'd appreciate it.
Councillor Turton and I went to an interesting session on roundabouts. Everything about roundabouts is very, very positive, including pedestrians and such like. Of the speakers that were brought forward, they brought many, many stats proving them and backing them up. Less fatalities and better flow. And they actually talked about the roundabouts a lot in Waterloo, and we talked about the St. Jacobs one, and single ones, double ones, and showed how interesting it was to enter them and get out of them, and really it's not that complicated. Mentioned that you drive to a road and you want to make a left turn, you always go in the left turn circle. If you want to make a right, you go to the right. If you want to go straight through, you go straight through. That's the very same thing, and you yield traffic when you're coming in and don't have to on the way out. So it was quite interesting. Councillor Turton and I found it, and we talked to our county engineer, Gordo, right after, and he had the same feelings too. That anyone is going down the right road to offer that. So
thank you, Mayor Bridge. Next time I go to Kitchener, I'm going to go down Ira Needles, because there's 7 roundabouts within 13 kilometers, I think. Councillor Elliott said everybody that was there talked very positive about the roundabouts. So
he talked about timing, did he not? They even said that the timing on was this very similar or even maybe faster getting down one road as compared to the other road to get through the roundabouts.
He also talked a roundabout is $1 million. and a set of stoplights is $250. And I mean, they didn't really elaborate too much on those two numbers, but
It's 250 if you've got all the power there and everything. There'll be more if you're out in the country, but for the lights. But the other thing is, I know from our information that we got on roundabouts, and the 3 that are actively working in Wellington County now, we've had no complaints on the new one down at Drayton. Everything's working really well. There was some concern earlier days that maybe some bigger trucks couldn't get through, but that was before it was totally completed. Once it was completed, they realized what they could do. And I think you had asked that, I think, David, and I checked with Neil Driscoll, and he's doing it all. And the other thing that it does from a climate change standpoint, there is an advantage of roundabouts, because I don't know if they talked about it in that meeting, but not stopping and starting. Stopping and starting actually causes more pollution than just going through a roundabout. So that's another advantage that they have as well. So we're looking forward to ours getting done in spring. I think it's on schedule so far. There's a little thing.
Yeah, Mayor Bridge, the biggest single issue is pedestrian traffic.
Yeah.
They have not figured that out yet, but I doubt very much if we'll have an issue out in front of your place.
It seems to be working fairly well in Arthur. We haven't had any bad feedback there yet that we know of at the county. I haven't heard anything. Maybe I haven't heard anything from anybody there. So, and they're installing cameras as well.
Through you, Mayor Bridge, I just wanted to mention further to when you said $1 million compared to 250. The 250 then has an annual maintenance cost.
Oh yeah.
It isn't available. It isn't there for the.
And depends on the lights. I think 250. I'd be surprised, because what I was told, 250 is a bit light for lights.
The cost of changing the hydro at my corner there was going to be $1 million itself.
Mayor Bridge, it's a very well written report, as we are accustomed to.
Yes, it is. I would only add one thing. Oh, sorry, Jean. Go ahead.
I would just comment, I was somewhat dismayed and continue the lack of comment on healthcare costs by anybody, the opposition or Premier Wynne. That same group, that aging group of population, and he did have a very interesting chart as you watched that median line where the numbers were going down underneath. Who's going to contribute the money that's going to continue to keep our health care system going, as well as everything else? But the baby boomers are just hitting that age where they're going to have a huge increase, and there's a focus on home care and CCC. They are low. And the Linds have some real challenges ahead of them to try to juggle which arm gets most funding. But nobody, like, it didn't even come up as a topic, and I was amazed that nobody asked about it. I'm all for climate change control and infrastructure building, but we have some huge challenges coming down the pipes as far as providing health care.
In the bear pit, there was one question on the, which I was quite interested in, because I sit on public health board as well. The question on 28 public health boards didn't get any funding increase this year. We're zero-based, and 8 got the 2% that everybody else was supposed to get. So there's an issue there, and I think the Dr. Hodges, or the deputy, or the cabinet minister, he said it was good science. I kind of disagree with that, but at the same token, when he said that we didn't decrease, but if you, and Jean knows, is quite aware, and people that are on hospital boards and understand it, you never get your last year's funding until just before the end of the next year. So technically, whether we had budgeted in a 1.5% increase that we're going to get from them, so technically 1.5% decrease, because we're at the end of the year. You can't stop your budget at that point. So we're going into next year at a deficit there, and there's going to be some problems. And part of it is some of the things that we like to give our people. And in Wellington, Dufferin, and Guelph, we provide 65% of the funding to the municipalities there, and only 35%. Some have 75% province and 25% municipalities. So it's another download on municipalities. Having said that, I would like maybe if this council would allow me to send a letter to the Premier and thanking her for at least listening on some of the issues. One, sustainable funding, and moving some of that from a non-sustainable basis, the percentage moving up on that. I always get these application based. What's that? OSEF or? Yep. OSEF. I got that. Yeah, there's so many of these funds, and the other one being the connecting links, realizing that 15 million wasn't enough for 77 municipalities, and that they're moving that one up as well. So I think we have to give credit where credit is due. There was a lot of lobbying. This group did a lot of lobbying over the last few years to get connecting links back, and we keep talking about, even though we do well in the other program, the other way they do it, I really need, from a budgeting standpoint, to do the other. So if allow me to write a letter to say, at least when you do something good, we don't want to slam them all the time. Would that be all right with everybody? Okay, so I think, Bill, we can.
If Mayor Bridge, I can include that in the recommendation.
That would be great. Okay.
There was a mover and a seconder.
We have a mover and seconder. Councilor Caldwell, Councilor Anderson, all in favor.
You got it.
Okay, I just doing the ends now. Doing the ends.
You're doing the end.
That's a first.
I will work my way into the middle. Okay. Well, and again, Bill, that's a great report. And here, I'll turn it over to Councilor Caldwell for the Treasury reports.
Thank you. And the Treasury Department has 3 items on the agenda today. The first one being very important and also something that we're well aware was coming, and that's the water and wastewater rate review.
Great.
Turn it over to Treasurer Duff.
All right. Thank you, Chair Caldwell. Yes, it's not always a happy news I bring. So anyway, as Chair Caldwell alluded to, we've talked about this in our budget deliberations, and we talked about it when we had our people from Watson and Associates. Unfortunately, our revenue shortfall has continued. It really hasn't improved at all. So if you do recall, we presented an amended wastewater financial plan based on cost recovery. And again, as you know, under drinking water, you're obligated, I'm obligated, Public Works is obligated to do a cost recovery basis for these systems. And although the expenses haven't changed, the revenue certainly hasn't lived up to the projections we have. So attached to my report is a couple of options that Watson Associates have prepared. Again, there's no perfect solution here. So moving from flat to metered is certainly fair, and the tiered rate structure has tried to make it more fair to small, medium, and large customers. And it always seems that if we look at ways to change the rates, the medium customers are the ones that are hit the hardest. So scenario 1 basically slams the medium ones again. Number 2, it does ease back the changes in that particular category a bit. So again, zero-sum game, there's no free lunch. It does hit the vast majority of the regular customers. However, there are so many of them. If we have 2,300 customers, probably 1,800 are your typical homeowners. So the impact on an individual customer is a little less. Hopefully, they'll still be a little lower than what they were paying under the flat structure, but not quite as low as what we've experienced in the past. And as I say, I got Lindsay to kind of check and see how much capital work is done, and I think we have to improve our communication to customers of what makes up the rate structure of water and wastewater. In the past 5 years, we've spent $4.8 million in capital water projects and 3.7 in wastewater, and we'll certainly outline that too. But what I'm proposing is adopting the second scenario and adopting this as of the June billing run, which would really mean these rates would take effect April 1st. If you recall, we're bi-monthly, so we do Palmerston 1 month, Harrison, Clifford, and Minto Pines another month. And if we pick that time to phase in the next change, it would have Palmerston and Harrison, Clifford, Minto Pines residents having the same amount of time at the lower rates as everyone. So we kind of thought it would be the most fair way to go. But anyone has any questions or comments?
I just wanted to take council back to the summer when we did have a public meeting on this, And what we did when we set the rate was try and set the average residential rate as close as possible to the amount that they were paying previously.
Sure.
And so that was based on all sorts of research and conclusions about usage that the consultant brought forward. So in theory, what the public was expecting was a bill somewhere around $212.50 roughly. What actually happened is that for singles, couples, and maybe even three-person families, it was the three-person family who was probably paying close to that. So many people have enjoyed a lower bill than originally estimated. So what we want to do is bring it back to what we had suggested it would be in the summer. It's so on that basis, I don't believe you necessarily have to have a public meeting, but if you wish to do so, that's your choice. But we're basically implementing what we told them we were going to implement back in the summer.
Yeah. We predicted between 210 and 250. That's come in at 165, and basically we're going under by 40,000 a month. And it's not good. It's certainly, as you know, I keep bringing the cash forward. It's not good.
The good news is that water consumption is down to cause that, but it's not affecting our cost of running the system to the degree that
it will in the long term, but certainly not in 2 months. Yeah. So
I think if I heard anything about the water meters and the water rates, it was communication.
Yeah.
I would like to find a way that we can communicate this to our taxpayers, that, and just explain the scenario.
Yeah.
That we knew that once again, we keep stressing that these systems must be paid through the water users and not through the taxpayers.
Mm-hmm.
And that this is the reason that we had to review it, and we did have the specialist review it, and this is what they're suggesting. This is what we feel will cover our costs to keep their water as safe as it has been, and will continue to need to.
Yeah. We'll prepare. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I've had a discussion with Gord on this, and it should go out in the water bills.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, even though the person's water had actually dropped by half, they were still concerned by them saying, look at my delivery charge is more than what I'm using. But what we haven't got out to everybody, the understanding that that's a kind of a bad thing, because at the end of the day, we have infrastructure according to our plan, and what's happened now is Gord's had to take money out of capital, which we all know we're on the hook for. If anything goes wrong that we don't fix, we're going to be personally and criminally held responsible, which people don't realize. But the fact is that we have to show them that this money that we put away on delivery is to pay for the capital, $7.5 million over the last few years. That continually has to be improved and make sure that it's there. And we have a plan that says we have to do it. So by taking it out of capital, we can't do that. So, and unfortunately, maybe our consultant was a little bit off. It would have been nice if we would but Bill said at the beginning of the year that people just gone to that flat. They would have, where the flat rate was, their consumption and their delivery charge would have been hopefully the same, so that we know going forward that any increase would be inflationary. So unfortunately, when you see a percentage increase, that's percentage increase from where they are now.
Yeah.
Not from where they were at flat rate. Right. So that's
you have to keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind, and I think we have to communicate that. You're right, through you, Councillor Call. We have to communicate that right, and hopefully we can get that message. I don't think we need another public meeting, because we talked about all this before.
Yeah, and we'll do a piece that goes on the bills, the website, and all that.
Yes,
that's very lewd. You're looking at me. I can't do it, Ron.
Sorry, Randy. Through you, Randy. What happens now if with these calculations we're wrong again?
And I sure hope not. But if that happens, we'd have to look at, because again, our mandate, it's kind of like when we set a budget. We set a budget to break even, old rules and all that.
Absolutely.
If we continued having deficits, like if you put it that way, Well, unfortunately, the tax rate would have to come up because we can't continue to run a deficit. And basically, our water and sewer system is running at a deficit. So we would have to, or we'd have to open up that financial plan, put that through review again too.
If it goes the other way,
If it
we're
goes the
bringing in
other
too much
way,
money?
well, same thing. We're not trying to make a profit
I know
either.
that.
So it's cost recovery. So yeah, let's pretend that somehow, wow, our consumption goes way up and our revenue goes way up. Yeah, we can look at it again and go the other way because you are trying to do break even. Not a loss, but not a profit either.
So this is to play with it until we get it right.
Pretty much. And I hope this works.
Yeah.
And I believe we have to review this every 5 years. It's an automatic review, annual, and so annually, but 5 years they do another study.
And that's mandated as well.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate that we just got this, but the good news is we're saving a lot, and down the road, as Mary Lou has mentioned, we haven't saved a ton of on expenses yet, but if our pumps last longer and all the other things because we're not putting stuff through, that should work in. Now they've worked it into the scenario somewhat.
Yeah.
But they weren't right on the one side, so they may not be right on the expense side. We may end up doing better.
Yeah.
And Gord, what if we get more grants?
Well, that'll help.
That'll help too, because we know
capital.
infrastructure's coming from the feds, and this is again on climate change and whatever. Some of the stuff we might be doing in our systems might help out.
And as you know, we're working both on the energy point of view to save on all that, to make the pumps more efficient. That we're also working on the wastewater side with our friends from the University of Guelph and that too. So, it's not like we're ignoring. If we can get operational efficiencies, great. We've taken over the wastewater in-house. We do the training. There'll be some savings, but probably not 40,000 a month savings. So that's it. Yeah.
That's Councillor Church.
Thank you, Chair Caldwell. I mean, this is likely one of the biggest single issues over the last couple of years. And you hear it at church, you hear it downtown, you hear it at the post office. And this was one thing that we were not sure about.
That's right.
And there was no secrets. I mean, we all talked about it. And we just can't let it go on. I mean, we need to do something. And one of the things we really don't have a choice about. Sometimes we do have choices on some of the decisions that we do make, but I don't think we have a choice on this.
No, you're 100% correct. It's not that any of us want to do this, but I think we're obligated to do it.
I think
law is the law.
It was coming. It was not a surprise.
That's right.
The other thing I think that we haven't talked a great deal about, but I think people sometimes compare water rates between ourselves and other municipalities. And I mean, our size is definitely a big part of our water rate. We have to do the same work and have the same equipment and everything. In fact, we have 3 times in some cases that, the city of Kitchener would have to do.
Yeah.
So, but yet compare the numbers to the numbers that we have. So water is something that, is utmost important. But the bottom line is the system has to pay for itself, and we have to maintain the same system that a large city would maintain in order to keep our water safe. So, okay, is there any additional questions or comments? Then the recommendation is the council receives the February 26, 2016 Treasurer's Report regarding water and wastewater rate review, approves implementing Scenario 2 outlined in the memorandum by Watson and Associates Economists Limited, dated February 22, 2016, and advises whether a public meeting should be held. May I ask that we deal with that last question first? That if council agrees that there is no public meeting necessary, may I have someone?
I'll move that.
Yeah, Mayor Bridge, seconded by Councillor Elliott. All in favor? Then that can way to do it.
Perfect.
And then we'll deal with the recommendation, excluding the public meeting. And Councillor Turton has made that motion. Would someone second it? Councillor Anderson, all in favor? And the motion is passed. Okay, the second item on the agenda for the Treasury is the approval of accounts February 26th.
Okay, thank you. And more of a normal round of accounts this time. Well, I guess one of our bigger expenses is starting to implement the extended asset management plan, again under the federal gas tax. So we've got our first payment on that of about $16,000. Our annual support for our general ledger and tax software, about another $12,000. And weather-wise, good news, not quite as much snow and that. We still bought $37,000 worth of salt and
That's still
sand
looking good.
because we had a lot of that. And we bought about $17,000 worth of cold mix to fix these potholes that have started too. So if you're not plowing, you're fixing potholes. So anyway, we've got that going on. And a little bit of well monitoring, about $5,000 there, and a couple of small bits of equipment at the recreation centers for about $6,000. So these are the regular ones.
Is there any questions? No, then the recommendation is the Council of the Town of Minto receives the Treasurer's report dated February 25th, 2016 regarding approval of accounts and approves the Town of Minto accounts by department for January and February 2016. Deputy Mayor, made by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, seconded by Councillor Elliott. All in favor? And the motion is passed. And the final item on the Treasury's agenda is a request for a donation.
Certainly. So this is the community radio, and I believe they've been to council at least once, probably twice in the last few years. So after a long and winding road, they are on the air. They have a name for themselves, 88.7 FM The River, and they're set up in Mount Forest. They have a transmitter tower just south of Mount Forest, and they've requested some money from several of the municipalities in the catchment area, as well as advertising. Now, I know some neighbors have committed a large amount of advertising, but what we put forward is proposing $500 in financial report and consideration, because we strike advertising budgets as a whole, and I don't really want to tie up who they're going to buy from, but at least it's something to consider. And it is a community asset. They have been broadcasting some of our content for free, and anyway, they seem to want to work with us. So.
Any questions or comments? No. Then the recommendation is the Council receives the Treasurer's report dated February 22nd, 2016, and approves the donation in the amount of $500 to Saugeen Community Radio Inc., and the Town of Minto will consider incorporating 88.7 FM The River in its advertising budget. Can I have someone make that motion, please? Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Anderson. All in favor? And the motion is passed.
Thank you.
And I hand the chair back to Mayor Bridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Caldwell. I'll turn it over to
Thank you, Mayor Bridge.
Councillor
We have four
Turk.
items today on our Public Works agenda.
Here they come.
I'd like to welcome our well-dressed director.
Thank you, sir.
He hasn't got a middle pin on him.
Doesn't.
Well, actually, I lost my middle pin. I don't know where.
And our roads foreman.
Maybe
Mr.
the mayor
Mike
will give me another one.
Isaac.
No, I got one for you after.
No,
First item on the agenda today is a request for a quotation for roadside grass cutting of shoulders and ditches. And I think Mike's going to be the spokesman.
Yeah, we had requests for quotations go out and closed on February 17th for the roadside grass cutting. This year we changed it to a 3-year term, and just to see if we could get more competitive pricing for the 3-year term. As you can see, the results there from the 5 submissions, and we have reviewed the submissions, and S&E Lawn Care and Snow Removal, they were the lowest bidder for the 3-year term, and they have provided this service for the town of Minto for the last 2 years with comparable pricing as previous years. Is there any questions?
Just go ahead, Deputy Mayor Faulkner.
Are we satisfied with their service.
Definitely. Yep. Definitely.
For sure.
Answers the question.
Councillor Colwell.
I've had this question in quite a few of our quotes. Is the major difference between them? And in some cases, you tell me that they just don't want the job. Is that why they quote like that ridiculously high when it's
Usually what they do is, in my experience, is they go and throw a price in that is ridiculous, as you can see, 10 times the price that it should be. And then hopefully they hope that nobody else bids on that job.
Oh, is that why? Because I'm thinking, why do they even bother? If okay, so if no one else
They
bids,
don't
they
really
would get it
care
at
whether they get it or not, but if they do get it, they're
gonna
going to
get
make
well
a
paid.
killing.
It's
Yeah.
gravy.
Yeah.
So is it possible the last one there, the decimal's in the wrong spot?
It is.
Any other questions? No other questions? Then the recommendation is that the council receive this Public Works report from the Public Works Director and the Road Foreman dated February 19th, 2016 regarding RFQ 2016-02 for roadside grass cutting of the shoulders and ditches, and approves the awarding of the RFQ to S&E Lawn Care and snow removal at the unit prices of $7.75 per kilometer for 2016, $7.80 per kilometer for 2017, and $7.85 per kilometer for 2018 seasons, excluding HST, based on approximately 370 kilometers twice per year. Thank you.
Can I ask a question
Go
first,
ahead.
please?
It's too late.
Is there an escape clause? Okay, thank you. That's all I need. I will make that motion.
Yes, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Faulkner. Councillor Anderson, second that. All in favor of that motion? Anybody against? That's carried, but we have one abstainer. That means he's in favor. Thank you very much.
No, that's negative. I will vote for it.
The second item on the
You can get your hand up
agenda
quick enough.
has to do with the sweeping. This is always a hot topic, and we've got some really good news here this year. So go ahead, Mike.
Requests for quotations were sent out to close the same date as the previous one. We received 4 submissions. Street sweeping, the lowest. We have in previous years we have had some difficulties with contractor. It was taking a lot longer than it should have. Equipment failures and stuff. This year we're actually recommending a company that has provided this service to us in previous years, even while we had our own street sweepers here. They helped us out in a pinch. Is there any questions with this one?
Questions, Mayor Bridge.
Is there any other group around us use mobile? Like any other towns around us?
Actually, Wellington North used to. I'm not sure who they're using this year. And then actually they do work for the highways going through.
They in the county work too?
I believe they do.
I thought they were the county.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out that, and I didn't realize it until I was talking to Brian and Mike about it. The county, because the county roads like the main street of Harrison, the main street of Palmerston, they actually, even though the old MTO used to do it for connecting links, they used to do the sweeping or pay for the sweeping in your town. We don't get it in Clifford because MTO doesn't do that. I don't think in Clifford, do they give us money? The county?
The county?
Yeah. No.
Actually, they do.
The county does. The county does it up in Clifford. That's right. The county does in Clifford. They're trying to, a lot of these things that were out there were sort of word of mouth, and so the county's putting all these services that they're doing for the local tiers in a document. So you're going to see Minto was used as an example. That's why I picked it up at a roads meeting in the county. So we do participate from a county level to help those streets because they're connecting links. So, but I know MTO doesn't do it for any. The county does what with MTO because we do it for some of the other ones and to keep it all consistent. So I was happy to see that some of this cost is put up to the county and the county will take their share.
Yep.
And try to be fair across the whole county because they've taken some things that they get in other places that, for instance, the lights now, we're going to get a quarter of the lights are going to be looked after, the maintenance the streetlights for the county because they do some in the other counties. So these are, we'll have that report. I'm sure it'll come to us
Hopefully shortly.
shortly, and that we'll have to sign it because we'll both have to sign, the county and the town. But it's nice to see that in the sweeping part. So I have no problem with going with it a lot more, but get a good one.
Other questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, again, escape clause.
Yes.
In all our contracts,
Yeah,
we got escape
and-
clause, yep.
And the reason I bring that up is I remember the difficulty we got into with grass cutting a number of years ago, and I just don't want us to get into that same problem again.
Yep, it's a standard on all our tenders,
Okay.
so.
And when this company that did it the year before, I swore those sweepers were the same ones we got rid of because I mean, all of a sudden I saw, well, didn't we get rid of that sweeper? And then I saw it coming at us. I think they bought our old sweeper and then tried to do it.
Did you stop him and ask
I
him?
should have asked them, David,
Yes,
but I
that,
didn't.
that way you would have.
I would have known,
Sure.
but it looked exactly like our old sweeper.
So how many calls are we going to get at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. that they're making a lot of noise? I see that they provide 24-hour service. I guess they come when we want them to come, right?
Exactly.
Good. Other questions? Recommendation then is that the council receives this Public Works report from the Public Works Director and the Roads Foreman dated February 19th, 2016 regarding the RFQ 2016-01 street sweeping Palmerston, Hairston, Clifford, and approves the awarding of the RFQ to Mobile Sweeping Inc. at the price of $88 per hour excluding HST for 2016, 2017, and 2018 seasons based on approximately 150 hours of service per season. Thank you, Councillor Caldwell. Deputy Mayor Faulkner, all in favor of the motion?
Just totally ignored me. I had my hand up the whole time.
That's
Took
carried.
it for- You blocked me. He blocked me. He blocked me out. We're not used to having him here.
Thank you. That's fine. The third item on the agenda today is supply load haul and spread granular A tender for 2016-03. Mike.
So actually,
Oh,
I'll
sorry.
wheel this one. Tenders were sent out on February 17th. 3 submissions were received as follows. The price per unit based on the estimated quality or quantity of 10,000 ton per season. First one was Dunnigan's haulage at $9.75 per ton, $9.75 per ton 2017, and $10 per ton in 2018. The Murray Group Limited, $7.25 for 2016, $8.30 for 2017, and $7.89 for 2018. And then E. Dennison Contracting, which is another local firm, is $7.45 per ton for 2016, $7.55 per ton for 2017, and $7.65 for 2018. We've reviewed all the tender submissions for the supply and load of haul and spread of granular A, and I'll let you do the recommendation.
Yeah, Brian, do you mind just telling us a little bit more about this? We buy the from E. Dennison. He stockpiles it. He brings it when we need it. Basically.
I'll let Mike go through that.
Yeah,
What
go
he
ahead,
does,
Mike.
he hauls and spreads it where we ask him to.
Yeah. So basically, it could be an extended period of time.
Well, actually, this maintenance gravel is just to basically top dress we do half of our gravel roads per season, and then we usually do it in the fall, so we get the maximum use out of our calcium for the season.
Questions? Oh,
It's tough being an ender.
Councillor Churton. I mean, there's nothing that can be done about it, but I'm wondering if this is a typo on the part of one of our quotes, that the price went up that drastically in 2017 and then back down again in 2018. Or was there a reason that they're expecting the price of the material to go up that drastic in 1 year?
The reason for that, I believe, is the location to where they're hauling.
Oh,
This
okay.
year they're close to their pit, and then next year they'll actually be on the other side of the municipality, so that hauling's going to be that
Okay,
little bit extra.
all right. I wondered if it was a typo by $1. Okay, thank you.
other questions? Hearing none, then the recommendation that the council receive. Sorry, Mayor Bridge.
No, I have a question.
He's ready to make the move.
Don't worry about it, Dave. Don't worry about it.
Do I look right? I know you're exercising your arm. Recommendations that the council receives this Public Works report from the Public Works Director and Road Foreman dated February 19th, 2016 regarding tender 2016-03, supply load haul and spread granular area on various roadways in the town of Minto, and approves the awarding of the tender to E. Dennison at the unit prices of $7.45 per ton for 2016, $7.55 per ton for 2017, and $7.65 per ton for 2018 seasons, excluding HST based on approximately 10,000 tons per season. Councilor Anderson, thank you. Mayor Bridge, thank you. All in favor of the motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Fourth item on the agenda, it has to do with the calcium chloride tender for 2016-04.
Okay, this tender was sent out to close on February 17th also. We've had 3 submissions were received as follows, with a price per unit, either liquid calcium chloride at 35% solution based on 90 flake equivalent tones, or an effective chloride composite based on 225 flake equivalent tones. 3 of the contractors were Pollard Highway Products, Daily Dust Control, and Miller Paving Limited. We reviewed the tender submissions for the supply and apply of calcium chloride. Daily Dust Control has provided the dust suppressant service to the town of Minto for the number of years, and with a competitive price and the appropriate product for the granular roads within our municipality. And I shall let you read the recommendations.
Questions? So, you know, I've had a few calls on this, basically this dust control, it's not working. So we're talking about 35% solution based on 90 flake equivalent. The stuff that you put on one of the roads that I was told that it didn't work. How do we know for sure whether it's good quality stuff?
Well, so tests are done on this chloride, and they have to provide the proper paperwork to prove that. So on every load that they bring, we check it to make sure it is, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. It does its job.
So when I get it, sorry, Mike, go ahead.
I just have one other thing to add. With whatever product we use, if we actually grade during a dry period, it's non-effective. So it's timing. So if the potholes are too severe that we actually have to go out during a dry spell, that's when the dust comes back.
Okay. So when I get a phone call, I can say Mike's got the document to prove that it's good quality stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Can we have a motion then? Sorry, I should read the recommendation. Council receives. Sorry.
We're good with it.
The council receives this Public Works report from the Public Works Director and Road Foreman dated February 19th, 2016 regarding tender 2016-04 supply and apply calcium chloride on roadways in the town of Minto, and approves the awarding of the tender to the Lee Dust Control at the price of $309.43 per flake ton for 2016 and $309.43 per flake ton for 2017, $309.43 per flake ton at 2018 seasons, excluding HST based on the approximate 90 flake equivalent tons per season. Hoover. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Faulkner. Thank you, Councilor Elliott. All in favor of the motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you. And
can I ask a question before you hand the gavel over? Mike, when that happens, when you have to grade like potholes and whatnot, of course it then becomes ineffective. Do we bring them back and redo the road?
No. Usually what happens is it's not effective during that time period. So we hope for a heavy dew or even some rain shortly
Takes
after
moisture to
bring it
activate it,
Yes.
in other words.
Okay. Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to share with us at this time? Hearing none, then I'll pass the chair back to our mayor.
Thank you. And I guess we have, what do you want? We go back to
Additional items, sorry.
No, we do that before we return to regular council. regular council first and additional items, right? It's not on here. I'd have put it on.
Probably should do it now,
You want to do it now?
Yeah. if you don't mind.
All right.
Because you're going to ratify everything here.
All right. Okay. See, if it's on my little agenda there, I can see it. Okay.
It's your deputy clerk.
Yeah, deputy clerk. Is that you doing that?
No, I'm not the deputy clerk.
Oh.
I'm getting her in trouble when she's not here.
Oh, she's not here. Okay. Anyways, we have additional items, and we'll start with who had that? Ron? You want to start with you, Ron?
Sure. Mine's to deal with the IPM. Because I know what's going on. Actually not true. It's to do with the entertainment committee. And I just want to announce that it appears it's happening on April 30th at the Drayton Festival Theater. We're going to have a matinee. It's featuring groups from that are going to be entertaining at the fly match, and it's sort of a combination of both. It's to let people know what kind of entertainment we're going to have, and it's a bit of a fundraiser that we can put towards operating it. And we're going to have a matinee, and it's going to feature Ty Baton. He played at the Party in the Park a couple of years ago. He's played in Toronto. He's fairly local too. I think he's from around the Fergus area or something. And Wendell Ferguson will be doing the matinee show. In the evening show, we got Wendell Ferguson again and Western Swing Authority. 4 fabulous groups. It's an opportunity for people to get out, kind of a preview of some of the entertainment we're going to bring to the IPM, and we hope people will kick it off and get excited about coming to that. So there'll be more advertising. We're in partner with the Drake Theater Group doing this, and there's going to be a lot of marketing going on. So get your tickets early.
David?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to advertise that the 28th annual dinner and auction is being held at the Brussels Community Center for the Maitland Valley Conservation Foundation. And it is April 22nd. And I just happen to have some tickets. So I am going to be making some phone calls to some of our Trees for Minto executive. And I'm hoping that we can take a table for it. So, and I believe that our county councilor Dave Anderson's already said that he's going to go. So I've got about 6 tickets left. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's very nice you to sponsor that.
Sure. Ron, you want to go?
Okay, I have two items. First one, they actually both involve the press. I want to give a feather in all your hats to the press. I came from an area for the last month where you literally don't know what's happening outside the county that you're staying in. And I just realized how much I appreciate the press in our area, because all you have to do is pick up the paper and you know what's happening in Puslinch, you know what's happening in Center Wellington and whatnot, and that's pretty cool. It really adds to a comfort level. And the second thing I have is, so that's a feather in your caps. The second thing I have is there's a scam out there right now, and I would like to pass it on to the citizens. Usually the guy's name is John Parker or John Marshall, and he phones from an Ottawa phone number. Identify himself as a police officer, and he doesn't say what the issue is, but it says it's of a criminal matter, and if you do not contact me or have your lawyer contact me within a time limit, then the results are on your head. And then he hangs up. And so I checked out with our anti-rackets people, and they're receiving hundreds of calls every day on this scam. So the answer is just ignore it. Just ignore it. Unless the person, he doesn't identify himself which police service he comes from. So unless the guy includes all the necessary items in the phone message, just ignore it. And if you have, if you're really, really concerned about it, contact the OPP. And the second scam is about pagers. The second one is geared to new immigrants, and he passes himself off as a representative of the I forget the department, the federal department that would immigration. You bet. And if they don't contact them, and of course when they contact them, they'll get their all their current important numbers from them, and it's also a scam. So and if you have any concerns, please contact the police. If not, just ignore them unless the person gives you a specific department, personal phone number, all that kind of stuff. Then just back off. Thank you.
On Saturday night, I had the pleasure of watching our volunteer firefighters clobber the Minto Mapleton, or the Mapleton firefighters, 4-0. It could have been 6-10-0, but there were some illegal substitutions occurring. And our goaltender was one-sticked Chris Harrow. He spun a shutout in there, and so it was nice to be able to yell at him instead of him yelling at his son, who was also a goaltender. So congratulations to all the firefighters. You can see a picture of them there.
That's pretty cool.
Cam Forbes looking his best. Burt Reynolds with this 1970s mustache.
His Java hat helmet.
Now, Mayor Bridge, it's my understanding that Mr. Driscoll, who was also there, and you were ill.
Yes, unfortunately, because I would really love to rub it in.
But I thought he was going to wear some Minto
garb.
Did anything happen?
I haven't. I'll make sure I get something down to him though.
Okay.
I haven't seen him since.
All right.
And it was great, and I think you raised how much, Chris? Was it
$1,900?
$1,900.
Very nice.
And how tough is it to be a sledge player?
It is not.
No.
Where'd you get the equipment, Chris? Where'd the equipment come from?
It's actually a program through the Upper Grand District School Board, and they take it around to the schools and let kids try it to bring the awareness of that program. And my understanding is they're trying to expand it so they can have like a team or something that they put in that. But they supply all the sleds and the sticks, and the 2-minute training session, and say go out there and have fun. So. But they take it around to the school. That's half the money went to them, and the other half went to my so.
Any EMS issues for yourself?
No. Peak physical condition.
And just to aware that we were only going to coach, Neil and I, because we weren't going to get in them. It would have been an issue there for sure.
Yeah.
So. Anyways, that was great. I was sorry I was a little ill, but I couldn't make it down. But good job winning it for Minto. Always good. I just wanted one more little comment, and Belinda left because she's worried about storms, I'm sure, because she got out of here. But I don't know if you're aware, but Belinda was actually on, I saw the video of it, but on CTV. It's a long way from when they used to call Harriston the next ghost town to where we are now with Minto and the recognition we're getting out there for being an innovator. And she was on about our jobs portal and on CTV in London, and then CBC morning show, which I listen to every morning, picked it up, and I heard her on that at 7:40 in the morning. So it's amazing to hear that Minto again is out there, and that's just the good work that through this council and the previous councils and through our economic development that we're on the map out there. And we certainly hear it in spades. I imagine you might have heard it down at Roma sometimes about Minto. Yep. It's nice to have a smile on your face when people say, "What are you're doing things right, doing things great." And so again, we saw some of it today with our launch it, and I just want to. She isn't here to take the accolades, but I want to send her way for that.
Good job.
Okay. Following up, anybody else got anything? No? Good. Get out of here before the storm. Did you check the radar? How we doing?
I'm just trying to do that.
Oh, don't you get off that machine. Moved by Councilor Anderson, second by Councilor Turton. The committee of the whole convenes the regular council meeting. All in favor? Great. Moved by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, second by Councilor Elliott. The council of the town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the committee of the whole. All in favor? Okay. Moved by Councilor Caldwell, seconded by Councilor Anderson, that bylaw number 2016-12 to establish fees and charges for various services provided by the municipality be introduced, read in first, second, and third time, and passed in open council and sealed with seal of the corporation. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councilor Turton, seconded by Deputy Mayor Faulkner, the bylaw number 2016-13 to confirm the actions of the council of the corporation of Town of Minto be introduced and read first, second, and third time, passed in open council and sealed with seal of the corporation. All in favor? Okay. Moved by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Caldwell. The council of the town of Minto adjourns to meet again at the call of the mayor. Thanks for a good meeting, and hopefully Judy will feel better for the next one.
Yeah.
All right. Get her home.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.